You're listening to Ask Dr. Jake. My name is Dr. Jake Tucker, and I'm coming to you live from Good Life Family Chiropractic here on the south side of Lincoln with another message today of health, hope, and wholeness. And I've met a couple of you this week, and I just try to get to know you as you come into the office. And one of the things that I was really surprised by was how few of you have actually heard Zeke's story, and partially because I told it so often, just a couple of weeks after it happened. But it made me realize, just because I've told it once, just because I feel like I've told it 1,000 times, his story needs to be told. It needs to get out there because it illustrates what's going on with our healthcare system today, or really, I should say, our sick care system. And if you're one of these people who feel like you've been let down by the healthcare system, that you are so sick in spite of spending time and money and resources on trying to get well, on trying to get healthy, then you're going to want to pick up a pen and some paper right now and write this number down. It's our phone number here at the office, 531-289-7100. Again, 531-289-7100. And what Zeke went through, this just it devastated me in the moment, but it's changed me completely in a way that's refocused me on what my purpose is here in Nebraska. I'm part of an organization called Max Living, and this organization has been around for over the last 25 years. We have 350 offices across the country, across North America. Even we're in Canada, we're in Puerto Rico. But the thing that I continue to realize is that we're on an island here in Nebraska. I am the only Max Living provider within 3.5 hours of Lincoln or Omaha, and it's not enough. And so if you've been listening for a while and you know that you need this approach, if you need a cause and effect-based approach, one that addresses health from a 5 essentials perspective, that goes from the inside out, where we're recognizing Christ and God Almighty as the ultimate healer and provider and giver of life, then reach out to me. You can reach out to me via the phone number that I gave you. You can text that, you can call that, or you can reach out to me via email. That's drjake@goodlifefamilychiropractic.com. That's drjake@goodlifefamilychiropractic.com. But, I got into this because chiropractic saved my life. And I didn't realize that when I went to chiropractic school. Like most people that go to a chiropractor, I assumed that I was getting into a profession that was dealing specifically with the relief of neck pain, back pain, and headaches. But about a week in, my mom told me a story about myself that I had never heard before. I was 2 weeks old with a clean bill of health from multiple doctors, both in the hospital and from my first well check just that same day. My mom brought me home, was breastfeeding me, and I quit breathing for the first time. That began a 6-month process of trying to figure out what was going on, because I didn't just quit breathing that first time. I quit breathing 14 times a day on average, with the most being 17. And the doctors could not figure out what was going on. Like many of you, my mom took me to the doctor, tried to figure out what was going on, figure out the symptoms, try to get it diagnosed. Couldn't get a diagnosis, so I got a referral to another doctor. I got a referral to a special doctor. I got a referral to the University of Michigan Children's Hospital, where all of the best were sitting under one roof trying to figure out what was going on with me, and they had no answers for my mom. They had no treatment options for my mom. They gave me a sleep apnea monitor and said, "Don't vaccinate this baby because we don't know what's going on. This could be an autoimmune condition. This could be something going on, and the vaccines are dangerous for him." Well, all through this process, my mom's best friends are praying for her family's praying for her. And my mom's very specific best friend, Connie, she'd been going to a chiropractor for some time and happened to bring it up to the chiropractor. He said, "Bring him in. I want to take a look at his spine. I want to see how his nervous system is being affected by the alignment of his spine." Because he knew this from my story. I had been born via C-section. The trauma from a C-section is equivalent to that of a car accident, receiving a whiplash type injury during a car accident. And nobody had checked my spine following the adjustment. They just assumed that because I was asymptomatic and responding to the basic tests appropriately, that I was fine. And then when symptoms came, they'd never looked at my spine. But when my mom finally was convinced to bring me in, which again, 6 months into this thing of having to go sleepless night after sleepless night, finally someone checked my spine for the first time. That doctor looked at me. He saw that my head was cocked over to one side, one eye was open larger than the other, and one pupil was dilated larger than the other. He went right to the top bone of my neck. Atlas and its relationship to the base of your skull and C2 is supposed to be surrounding and protecting your brainstem and the cranial nerves that exit off. One specific cranial nerve, vagus nerve, cranial nerve 10, exits out from underneath your atlas and runs down your neck out to your lungs. And my atlas was shoved so far out of position, wrapped around my brainstem, such that that nerve was not getting the full electrical current through there consistently. Every time I laid my head over in my sleep or turned my head to nurse, it would cut off and I would quit breathing immediately. He did one adjustment, and I've never had a breathing problem since. And that began this journey of health and life and vitality that I've been on. And I got into chiropractic school, not really even knowing why I was there, but knowing that God had directed me there, and then God confirmed it. And then just a month ago, 2 months ago, August 26th to be exact, I get a phone call from my wife, and she's on her way into the emergency room because my youngest, Ezekiel, he's 5 months at the time, he had quit breathing in daycare. Up to this point, Zeke had had a completely clean bill of health, no birth traumas. The only trauma he had in his life was an older brother and older sister that were so excited to meet him that they hugged him too hard. Well, that morning, his sister didn't want to put on her pants, and so she was kicking them off, and he happened to be laying on the floor next to her and got kicked in the head. Nothing happened in that moment. He didn't start crying. He's a big boy. He's strong. He's strongest of all my kids. And so my wife didn't think anything of it other than she needed to get pants on this little girl. Well, within an hour, he was at daycare and he was going down for his morning nap, and he started out on his back, and he likes to sleep on his stomach. So he rolled himself over onto his stomach. And as he did that, he let out a yelp. And that yelp alerted his daycare worker, who, thank God, was very responsive, instantly came over to check on him, and she found him non-responsive, not breathing, not responding to any stimulus at all. She started to do resuscitation, emergency resuscitation, CPR, and eventually got into rescue breathing. And she had to go through 2 rounds of this before he started to respond, and he started to cry. But by that time, the EMTs showed up, and they noticed that he was seizing as well. And so they transported him over to the nearby emergency room in the pediatric ward. And I got there as quick as I could. And as I got there, I started hearing what had happened with him and all the things that had happened to him in the emergency room and before. And, so I went to him because I saw him there on the table. I saw him crying. I saw him shaking with this seizure that was racking his body. And instinctively, I just started praying for him. And as I did so, my hands went to his spine. And I felt along his neck, I felt that his atlas, again, just like in my body, had been shoved off to the side during the birth process. His had been kicked off to the side by his sister that morning. And I started to massage it back into place. Very specific adjustment, moving that vertebra back into alignment. And as I did so, as I prayed for him, I felt his body begin to relax. And as it relaxed, he started to stop shaking. He started to breathe normally again. And as that happened, he started to ask for his mom. He started to nurse, and he fell asleep. He fell into a peaceful sleep, only interrupted by the doctors coming in to jab him with needles and try to figure out what was going on. And they did. They ran all these panels. They ran all these tests. They did a CT scan for his brain. They did chest x-rays for his lungs. They got a blood sample to try to test for any infectious agents that were going on. We transported over to Children's in Omaha because they wanted to know what was going on, and they had more advanced testing available there. And so there we got an EEG for his brain. We got a spinal tap to see if there was any infection in his spinal cord. We looked at everything. We got an MRI for his brain. We got an MRI just to see everything going on, chest x-rays, all these things. And I'm just starting to get these bills. We're going to have spent upward of $100,000 for something that ultimately turned into a spine problem that, as I told the doctors that I found it, and I told over a dozen doctors between St. E's here in Lincoln and Children's in Omaha, that his spine was out of alignment, that had been damaged by a kick in the head and neck from his sister. And every single one of them ignored it completely, even though I continued to tell him that he went into distress every time I put my hand around that spot in his neck. They continue to ignore it. And that's the problem with our current healthcare system. We have this disease sick care model that focuses on your symptoms and your symptoms alone. It bases its diagnosis off of your symptoms and then prescribes you a treatment option based off of your symptoms. And then we spend more money on this symptom than any other country in the world. We have the best doctors trained in this system than any other country in the world. And it works great for emergencies. But when it comes to health and when it comes to a healthcare system, our country performs worse than every other country in the world. We get asked this question, and I was watching the presidential and vice presidential debates. Why is America having a higher disease rate for things like COVID? And the answer is we are the sickest country in the world because we don't know what health is. Health comes from above down, inside out, expressing itself across your central nervous system, and it happens no other way. Your spine is designed to surround and protect that central nervous system, and when it's in proper alignment, it can and it will, the way God designed it. When it's out of alignment, it starts to interfere with the expression of life through your nervous system, interfering with health, interfering with life, interfering with vitality, and ultimately leading to a compromised, malfunctioning body that begins building up sickness and disease and is more prone to infection, more prone to these things. And then we add in the other four essentials as well. We talk about nutrition, we talk about fitness, we talk about toxicity, and then we talk about mindset. And all of those things play a role in your health. All these things are things that I give to my children, and I made sure that Zeke had while he was in the hospital. If these are things you're missing out on, then pick up the phone and call our office right now, 531-289-7100. Yes, I am the only doctor in the state of Nebraska within 3.5 hours of Lincoln and Omaha. The next closest offices are in Sioux Falls, Des Moines, and Kansas City. So if you're closer there, God bless you. Go to one of my brothers and sisters that'll take care of you. But if you're here in Lincoln and you're here in Omaha, this is the only place that you can reliably get the 5 essentials and get on this mission to transform health, not just as a country, but in you. In you. God wants more for you than being stuck on your couch, taking pill after pill, trying to medicate a symptom that's not going away because you're not healthy and no one's there to direct you and to get health. I'm here to give you that health, to guide you to that health, and ultimately point back to the Creator who provides that on a daily basis. If you need that, pick up the phone right now, call our office, 531-289-7100, and I will be here to walk you through. My staff will be here to walk you through setting up that initial appointment. You're going to get a 50% discount off of the first visit in our office, very likely costing you about $65. That's our average here for that first visit. From there, we'll be able to see what's going on. Because we're so highly specialized, it does take us a while to figure out what exactly insurance is going to cover, but we're going to get that based off of your exam findings. Call us now, 531-289-7100. Have a great weekend. I'll see you Monday for another episode of Ask Dr. Jake.